Scott, this is Zach Clark. I just wanted to give you this video, put this together because you sent me a while back some great questions in responding to our series on how to start the year right. And I thought these were great questions, and it's taken me a little longer than I wanted it to be able to follow up and give you some thoughts on this. But I'm going to do this and just for you, and try to do my best in giving you some helpful thoughts. So your questions, how can I achieve better focus? That's question number one. Question number two, how can I improve my goal setting and follow-up? So let me take the first one first. How can I achieve better focus? Okay. There are lots of tools and tricks that you can use, but I think when someone talks to me about wanting to improve their focus, I think that my first question is going to be, what is your focus on? How can you be clear? So focus is a vision activity. It means you're focusing on something that you're seeing. So I think that your focus improves when you get very, very clear on what you are needing to see happen, wanting to see happen. And so ways to think about that could be really big, as in looking 30 years out from now in your life. 30 years out, what do I see? What do I want to see that's true in my family, in my ministry, in my business, in my health, in my finances? That's a big way to do that and create what some people would call a life plan. But that takes several days of focus, not just working on here and there. You have to really block that time and focus on what you're focusing on. But that can be very, very helpful. It's not so much that you're trying to plan your whole life. That can't be done. But you'll be amazed at how, when you know where you're trying to go financially, when you know where you're trying to go with the impact of your organization, of your business, the way a lot of other things tend to fall into place. I remember one time recently, my wife and I were talking about financial goals, and I gave her a specific number that I was working toward. And she said, "Gosh, do you just pull these numbers out of air? Where did that number come from?" And I said, "No, I've actually done the math." When we talk about some of the things that we hope and plan for our children, for our family, for all these various things, when you sit down, you can actually do the math. It's just numbers, and get clear on what that is. So that's a big way when you start talking to me about focus. If you're talking about ongoing focus, then I think that establishing 100-day goals is an excellent way to do that. So and what I do is usually select 5 major things that I am focused on in the next 100 days. So, and I literally put, sorry, my nose is itching. I literally put on a document where I could see it all the time, regularly, a start date and an end date over a 100-day period. And it's not a list of 5 things to do. It is 5 big things that I want to make sure that we move forward on and that are accomplished, that I am going to focus on. And so focus to me means I'm spending a disproportionate amount of my time and energy on this. So getting clear on that. What's magical about this is you don't necessarily have to look at it all the time, although I think it helps to have it where you see it, where it prompts you visually and you're reviewing it every week. But have those 5 things very, very clear. There's something about forcing yourself to make those decisions that really, really helps. So that's key. And if those goals are spot on and exciting to you and energizing to you, then it's easier to keep your focus on those, because when you come back to it, you go, "Oh, this is what's most important, and I'm working on that." So this is such a huge topic, but I want to give you a couple more. So if you think about 30-year focus, you think about 100 days. Why 100 days? Because research has shown that it's very hard to mobilize focus among people, particularly groups of people, sustained focus and energy over time for more than 100 days at a time. After that, it gets very difficult without sort of relaunching, reestablishing some goals, reestablishing some patterns, re-energizing people. So I kept that in mind in terms of 100 days. Some people do 6 weeks. A lot of the leaders that we work with, that's what they use, is the 6 weeks time frame. But then, so I've talked about long term, I've talked about 100 days or 6 weeks, but then what about the near term focus? So the two things that I recommend that are transformational, then they're so easy to get started on and they're so easy to get off track, but if you get off track, you just get right back on the horse. One is how you use your calendar, okay? It's very hard for you to tell me that you're focused on a particular goal if I cannot see in your calendar in advance where you have blocked time to focus, to put focused time and energy and intensity onto the work that is actually going to move you forward on those things. So I should be able to see, it's kind of like you telling me that you're focused on a big vacation for your family, and I say, great, where's the money for that? Well, I don't know, I'm hoping it's come together. So you don't have a budget for that, you don't have a goal in mind, you don't know how much money you're going to need to set aside. No, we're just kind of going along. Well, that you're not focused on your vacation, you're just hoping all of this is going to work out. Your calendar operates exactly the same way, where if you are not budgeting that time in advance, then you're just going to be in a reactive mode all the time. So then if you look back on your calendar, you'll see, gosh, when I look back, I really haven't spent much time and energy on that. Why? Because you didn't budget that time in advance. So looking back is always going to reveal just the fact that you had a lack of focus. So using the calendar well, and then lastly, the thing that brings all of this together, the 30-year, the 100-day, the 6-week, the calendar where you're blocking your time in advance, weeks ahead to focus on these things. The thing that brings it all together is a weekly review. So weekly, you have got to put your arms around everything that you're doing. All right, what are the goals? What is the progress? How am I scheduling my time? What meetings did I have? What accomplishments did I have this week that I need to follow up on to keep moving? What's coming ahead? That might take you an hour. It might take you several hours. But you'll know when you're doing a weekly review right because you'll feel your energy level for the work ahead going up and your anxiety level going down. So when I start my weekly review, my anxiety level is at its peak within about 30 minutes of starting because there's so much. I'm overwhelmed at all the things that we're trying to do. But as I keep pushing through that and making those decisions about time and energy and effort and where I'm going to put it, my anxiety level drops and my energy level goes up. So do I do that perfectly every single week? No, but I've been doing a weekly review habit now for nearly 18 years. And I'll get off track for a little while. My wife even now notices when I get off track. But if I get off track, it's just as simple as scheduling my next weekly review. I do them on Sunday evenings. A lot of leaders that we work with do theirs on Friday mornings. So those are some very specific things I think that could help you achieve better focus, as you asked about. The next question is, how do I improve my goal setting and follow-up? So these things are all very closely related, but goal setting I've sort of mentioned. You know, if you set 100-day goals or things you're focused on, that can help. I like using goals, looking at goal setting two different ways. One is realistically, based on the improvements that we've been seeing, the trends we've been seeing, what is a reasonable goal that maybe stretches us a little bit? So that's one way to do it. At the same time that I'm doing that kind of goal analysis, I'm also thinking about 10 times that amount. So that what people would call 10x thinking, which is really overblown and glorified these days. But the reality is, if you think 10x out there about how you would have to change your behaviors organizationally or in your own life to achieve a 10 times goal, that will shake up your thinking big time. And so somewhere between that 10x number and the stretch goal is going to be what really is going to get you charged up to focus on. So that's one more way of goal setting that I haven't mentioned. Now, follow-up. Man, I could talk all day about follow-up. Follow-up, I always tell leaders, that's where the work is done. That's where the results come. Follow-up is put on your big boy, your big girl pants, and your big boy boots, because that is where most people fail and struggle and wonder why in the world isn't this going with me. So I am obsessed with follow-up. Just like on this video, it might take me a little longer than I want to follow up with you, but I will follow up. And there are a couple of things that I do. There's a whole pile of things that I do and teach, but there are a couple of things that I do that have been transformational for me. Number one is that I have clearly a list of people and things to follow up on. It's called, amazingly enough, my follow-up list. I also have a list of phone calls that I make. So I separate those things out. That's a whole other topic. I use very similar to the Getting Things Done method by David Allen. But just simply having a list where if I have to follow up on a person or something, it is going on that list. And it can't come off that list until I followed up. It's the only way it can come off that list. So if I tell you I'm going to send you something or I'm going to respond to some questions, I am going to put that in that follow-up list. The second thing I'm going to do to improve my follow-up is I'm going to place it on the calendar as much as possible. I'm going to select a date to actually do it. I'm going to make a decision. It doesn't mean I'm going to make a decision immediately on every single item on my follow-up list, but I am going to eventually at some point put a date on it. If I can't do it quickly, I'm going to put a date on it, so I have to get it done at that particular date. So those are game-changing things as it relates to follow-up. There's no magic there, but you get follow-up is a physical discipline. I mean, it is. Having a system helps, but keeping it as simple as a list and a calendar. The other thing that totally changed my world years ago on follow-up was I have a waiting for list. A waiting for list. This is things that if you tell me you're going to send me something, or you tell me you're going to do something, or I ask you for something and you say, yes, I'm going to get that to you, that's going on a list of things that I'm waiting for. If I send you an email and I'm asking you for something, that's going to go in an email a list of things that I'm waiting for. And why is that so helpful in terms of follow-up? That means that I have no worries and no stress about whether or not you're going to do that, because if you don't do it, as you know, if somebody doesn't follow up with you on something, it affects your follow-up. You can't get done what you need to get done because you don't have what you are waiting on. And so why this changed my life was the fact that if you tell me that you're going to get me something and I know that I need that, I have full ownership of the follow-up. I don't have to worry or care if you're going to follow through on this, because I am going to remember. My list is going to tell me. And if and when it becomes important to me to actually get that, I want to be able to circle up with you and say, hey, you said that you were going to send me this and I need this. I had this happen literally just recently. Somebody told me they were going to send me a PDF book that they had written. It sounded very interesting to me. And I said, hey, please do that. And he said, I haven't sent that to you? I said, no, will you send that to me? He said, absolutely, I'll send that to you. Where did it go? On my waiting for list. And a couple of weeks went by, I hadn't received it. And so I shot him a quick note. I said, hey, I'm really interested in that. I would like to see that. And immediately, oh my gosh, I forgot. So see there, I had zero problem with what is he doing? Why is he not keeping up with it? It became important to me. And then I was able to take ownership of the follow-up. So I've thrown a lot at you in this video. I love these questions though, because I'm passionate about talking about them. I have been on a long-term journey now for, as I said, almost 18 years to really work at things like this. I call this self-leadership. It's all under the big bucket of self-leadership. And your questions really, hopefully, have brought out some good ideas from me. I'll look forward, Scott, to hearing from you and how you apply it. And yeah, I'll be talking to you soon. Thanks.